and welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm Ji Xiaojun with Charlotte and Gregory.
Hi there.
China is opening up to the outside world, and it's becoming a more and more open society. And extremely true in China that international brands or imported products are extremely popular with Chinese consumers. It seems they've been maintaining a very positive image.
True.
When you say it's imported, doesn't really matter where they come from. It seems it's equivalent to high quality, a good product.
Which isn't always the case.
Exactly, and especially
more dependable.
When we talk about the stories that for today's program. We are going to share with our viewers three stories, and also with you three stories, and all these stories concern three big international brands. And as you say, it's not all positive image that they are giving out. Yeah, they are building up. The first one is about the supermarket, Carrefour. It's basically about price cheating in different ways. It's not only about Carrefour, it also involves Walmart, all these international big brands. And they are doing very well in China, in these big cities. You'll see even in the second layer of the second tier of Chinese cities, you will also see these supermarkets, all these big brands. But they are also being accused of price cheating in different ways, and they've been fined, but obviously, harm's been done.
You go, at least I am this way, I'll go to a supermarket where there are prices, on the products because I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to think about
You don't want to bargaining with the
or anything. I just want to go, I want to buy my stuff, and I want to leave. And so
And you wouldn't even double check, the price tag.
Well, no, because it's all electronic, and you think, well, you might be paying a higher price than you would if you go to the local, market, but you're partly paying that price too. And so for Carrefour and Walmart to have this happen, it's terrible. But I have to say, there are some local supermarkets I go to
doing the same thing,
and I am always very careful to check my receipt because more often than not, I will be charged incorrectly, and 8 times out of 10, it's too much. And maybe 2 times out of 10, it's too little. And when that happens, I say something, because I don't want that on my shoulders. But
you see, according to your understanding from your story, we can get that impression, and we put our trust on these international brands. And somehow what's happening these days is these international brands, maybe also some local brands, they're taking advantage of that trust. And that's why we are seeing these price cheating in different forms. The first way is you will always see the price tag saying original price, was, and now.
Sales price.
And basically that original price could be forged at all. It's
Who knows?
Never like that price in it. It's totally made up price. And the second type of price cheating is you put a low price on the price tag, but actually they charge more. That's what you come across in those markets. And thirdly, we say it's going to be discounted by half, but actually when you charge them, it's the original price. And the fourth way of doing it, it's 130. But what you did, what the supermarkets did was on the price tag you will see huge 13, while these 8.0 in smaller characters and smaller font. And so basically what you get the impression that you've got is it's 13,
not 130,
not 138. So these are the different ways all these supermarkets used in price cheating.
Let me give a comment to this thing. I think it's human nature, of course, to try to make more money. However, all good companies, including the American leading companies, their reputation, the image, the trust of the customer of the delivery is extremely important. Once you destroy that, you destroy everything. Now the key is to find out how it happened. I'd like to see that who was the ones in the company to make this happen. You cannot blame somebody, a programmer, or your entry is wrong. If that's the case, why is not being checked out, corrected? So it's crucial to find out who's the one started this scheme inside the company, and that be not only punished but also declared to the public. So other companies would take that lesson. You learn a lesson. For example, this time they were charged like 500,000 RMB as a penalty. It's not good enough because they're making tons of money. So the idea is to stop them from scratch and study the whole procedure of production, labor and pricing and so on, and find out who were the ones given the instruction to do it. They cannot blame someone on the lower totem pole. Could be someone higher up getting involved. So that investigation is extremely important, I think.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Talking about that 500,000 penalty seems is
nothing to them.
Exactly.
They're making billions of dollars.
Because just take Carrefour as an example. They have over 100 stores, supermarkets in China, and the yearly revenue is huge.
Yeah.
But if the government wants to impose a more serious penalty on these law breakers, but they need to find that law
corrected.
Exactly.
Changed.
And the regulations are still there. According to those regulations, it's 500,000.
That's true. In China, I think anywhere else, you have a regulation stipulating how much penalty there is. But as times go by, they change so much now. They have to update.
It can be from 20 years ago.
Well, there's just inflation. I mean, take inflation into account, right?
At the same time, penalty is one thing. At the same time, we should remind all these international brands or domestic brands to take care of their own corporate ethics. I mean, we have the trust on you, but do not take advantage of that, do not exploit that.
Well, I find something that's interesting is when we go to a restaurant, usually maybe 9 times out of 10, we'll check the bill to make sure that it's correct. That everything you've ordered is on there and nothing else has been added. And you do catch mistakes. You do.
True.
Everyone does, no matter where you are in the world. So, and that's a habit. We all hopefully have that habit. So maybe we need to start making a habit of, checking our receipt when we leave a store.
For example, in a restaurant, it happened more than once to me. That is, you order something and it didn't show up and say they don't have it anymore. You just cancel it. By the time you receive the bill, it's still there. It happens more than once.
I mean, it's maybe slightly easier if you check it up in the restaurant because, you have at most, I guess, 10 dishes.
Right.
But if you're in a supermarket, because this is a new way to Chinese consumers. Years ago, it's not the way of buying stuff for Chinese people, that you go to a market, it's like a department store. You see all these commodities being piled up, and you have someone taking care of that. You have to ask them to get something for you. But these days, it's supermarket, and you get anything you want into that trolley.
You help yourself.
You help yourself.
Right.
And it can be hundreds of items. And you wouldn't be able to check each item
one by one.
Exactly.
But agree with Aihua, for example, you have to encourage the customers to be careful with what they have purchased and how much they charge for. Maybe sometimes you have a small calculator. As you go along, you just add this number. I don't know.
The other thing you can do is watch as the prices scan in the computer. And that's another thing I'll do is I'll watch it scan. And if something strange comes up, then I'll say something.
Can you remember all the prices?
Well, I don't do big bulk shopping, so I might go to the grocery store a couple times a week, and so when I do, I don't have a huge cart of things.
You go to this particular supermarket all the time, you check carefully, once in a while to establish the level of trust. You think basically that we're not cheating, let it go. But you go to a new place, you really have to be careful about what you do. Use a calculator or jot down the prices, and then at the end of it, you double check on that. Anyhow, you have to do your best to protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the penalty of 500,000 might seem little to all these supermarkets, to Carrefour or Walmart, but the huge loss is the trust of the customers.
Correct.
And when we say we vote by our feet, we walk away, if we do not go back to Carrefour or Walmart again, that is the biggest penalty.
Absolutely.
Basically, I think the customers themselves have to know how to protect their own interests. Second, the government. The government has to really improve their regulation supervision to catch those cheaters early enough to have a punishment, prevent it. And then, of course, the media play a role too. Very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like about a week ago, there was this program called 315. That is on March 15th. They have so many cheating schemes revealed it to the public, like the tires not manufactured up to the standard, and medicine and so on. I think that awareness has to be there. But again, you cannot depend on one individual's effort to get a job done.
Exactly.
It's awareness, it's the government regulations, also the self-discipline of those.
There should be a supervision system going on.
Automatically setting up, yeah.
You know, in the States, we have something called the Better Business Bureau.
True.
Which I don't think it's government related, but you can report businesses that are, you know, have bad business practice, and they're quite it's quite effective.
It is a very good practice, because when you had a bad experience, you call this Better Business Bureau to have a record. So what's happening is that a customer approaching a new merchandise or a new company, they call in. How is the reputation of this particular enterprise? And they give them a good response.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very important. Then the consumer reports in the States.
That's right, consumer guide.
Those guys are serious about what they do. They do not receive any kickbacks from the company. They're purchased on their own costs of different kinds of merchandise, and then they have their own laboratories to examine them.
And they do ratings and
whether the cameras or the
cars,
whatever they are. So that system should be there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And anyway, this is a huge crisis for these supermarkets, for Carrefour and for Walmart, and also for some local brands. And I guess starting from now, consumers and the customers will be more careful in the price tag.
Well, hopefully in
which is a good thing.
Yeah, hopefully in a couple months we can do another show reporting that everyone's being very good and not cheating anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And we are going to now take a short break, and when we come back, here is another crisis, and this time it's about Apple. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Crossover. We've been talking about these crises concerning all the international brands, all these multinational companies been operating in China. The first case was about Carrefour, Walmart, all these, you know, international supermarkets. And now this second story is about Apple. iPads is extremely popular, iPhone 4, all these gadgets, and many of them are being produced in China. They have factories in different places, some in Guangdong, and some maybe in East China's Jiangsu province. And there is a story concerning the factory, concerning the employees of the Apple factories in China. It's not so good, because according to the report, these employees were exposed to the environment, to a certain kind of gas or chemical element which is harmful to the health.
True. The story break out that I think Lianjian in Chinese, an English version of that, and also maybe Foxconn. They have more than a dozen factories in China to produce the products. However, they try to clean the surface of this product, thinking something needed. They were using alcohol at first, and then they think it's too expensive. They changed to a different chemicals, but that chemical is a troublesome, because if you touch it, if you smell it, it'll hit your nervous system in the long run. So the company, the question is, again, I'm going to ask that basic question: who were the ones
who started this?
To switch from alcohol to this particular chemical, and how come they do not know the chemical impact to the health of the workers? Why they can make a decision like that and let it go prolonged to the point of more than 100 people affected and get sick? So again, trace the source, and correct from the very beginning.
And some of the employees, they were actually forced to retire and
quit.
leave, actually, to quit their jobs. Because at the same time, I mean, on one side we see all these fantasies created by Apple products, and everyone is pursuing it. It's a trendy thing to have a Apple product, either it's Macintosh or iPad or iPhone or iPod. This has been talked about every day, but at the same time, it seems we are neglecting all these problems, and we seem to be unable to associate that with what's happening in the factories. Obviously, it's doing no good at all to the company image.
No, but you see, I mean, there are so many instances of this kind of maltreatment, really, in the factories, in manufacturing factories all over the world. Bad conditions, child labor, poison. I mean, really, or underage. Yeah, no, I said child labor. It's there. We see it so much, and it's terrible that we see it so much. Because something like this with Apple. I mean, that's what I would love to know the price difference. Apple makes so much money anyway. I mean, spend an extra couple renminbi and use the alcohol.
That's why there are different arguments about this case. One, well, it's Apple's fault. You should be taking care of the employees,
of course,
of the factories who manufacture your products
and make you your money.
Exactly. They have different opinions. Some others have different opinions, saying, well, this is not Apple's fault. These are the manufacturer's fault. The Apple might not be able to, to reach that far to take care of the employees of their tenders, their manufacturers. It's their manufacturer's responsibility to take care of their employees.
Which goes back to your point, Gregory, of the source. Where's the source?
Again,
how did it start?
If things happened the way it was and with such dreadful, terrible consequences, the question is to find out what's wrong with the system. It doesn't matter whether Apple companies are not responsible for it, because those companies producing the product on their behalf are the one is not good enough. My first question is this. For example, those workers are vulnerable because they may not have enough knowledge to know they're even hurt, not supposed to get hurt. I'm talking about a labor union, number one. Number two is within the manufacturer themselves, why they don't have a system to pay attention to the safety of the workers to begin with. They cannot allow that to happen. Third is the government. The fourth is the media. I'd like to see that unions play a much better role to protect the interests of those workers. And then the companies have enough common sense and not to know they cannot try to save a few bucks before at the cost of not only the health of the workers, but also the reputation of the whole company.
Their brand, The
government should come in quickly and media come in quickly.
But talking about, cost can be the key issue in here, because Apple is always in such a powerful bargaining position, and they've squeezed actually the big part of the profit pie, and the manufacturers will be occupying only a small share of that pie, and they want to keep their own profit pie larger, a little bigger. Then they have to squeeze that pie of the workers, and they have to think of all the possibilities to reduce all the costs in any way, every way possible.
It's a chain reaction, but again, it's a malfunction of the system. The system has a problem, clearly.
True, true. Sometimes they claim that the local government officials in those cities where the factory being set up are reluctant to put a stop to it or to penalize the foreign giant companies because they're afraid of tax, revenue, income, employment, everything else. However, you need a balance. You cannot at all to sacrifice the health of the workers. They're the ones to make things work, right? If they don't work with the factory, who's going to produce the stuff? So they need guarantees and also support from outside to safeguard the interests of the workers.
So that's the second crisis we are talking about today. The third crisis is about Toyota, and we'll see what that is about. We'll be right back after a short break. Now, welcome back to Crossover, and we've been talking about all these big crises concerning the international brands and multinational companies operating in China. We had one with the Carrefour, Walmart, another one with Apple. And this third one is about Toyota. In this auto industry, they have that system when when you found some defects with your products, you recall your cars to the car repair and have it replaced or have it repaired. And as that happened on the 26th of January 2011, Toyota submitted a report to the maybe the Transportation Ministry of Japan, saying they're recalling over 1 million cars manufactured between 2000 to 2009. That's 1.2 million in Japan, nearly 500,000 overseas. But in that list, we do not see China as being excluded in that list. And that means all the cars sold in China, maybe manufactured or sold in China, are not included in that recall list. Obviously, people were not happy at the time.
And what was the statement that Toyota gave as to why the Toyota cars in China weren't recalled?
The obvious reason they gave out was these cars were made in China. They were using different components on a different platform. That's why all these cars produced and sold in China in this market did not have the problem that we saw in the cars they produced in Japan or in other countries.
Toyota's had a really bad run the past year or two. They've had to.
You look at the statistics, something terrible around. For example, in the States, they have 200 million cars. In China, it's about one third of that. However, the recall cases in the States is 100 times as often as in China. Another saying that I believe is also true, that Japanese are paying attention to the international market, the States and Europe, to give them best quality cars over there, than the domestic market. Then for China, maybe some other countries, that's very low in the totem pole. So I do not believe the cars now using in China today are better qualities than the others. However, the case of recalls was slim. So three things happening. Number one is customers. The customers may not have enough knowledge to know what went wrong with the car, thinking the normal tear and wear is not true. Second is the government agencies. We have a supervision or quality control agencies. They should pay more attention to what's happening. Third is the manufacturers themselves. They should not know, they cannot rely on either the ignorance or the lack of supervision in a location in China to sell the product on a continued basis. If they don't ship up, they'll be in big trouble in the long run.
And actually, as you said, the government stepped in. The General Administration of Quality Supervision, Inspection and Quarantine of China stepped in, and they asked Toyota to submit a report of why China has been excluded in that list. And the latest development was on the 25th of February 2011, Toyota China said they are now recalling not all these cars mentioned in the original list, but they are now recalling Lexus, a certain type of Lexus produced, those were the imported ones, produced from 2003 to 2006. According to their record, there are over 5,000 cars in China. So there are some new development, but some people are arguing, well, I mean, on one side, maybe it's Toyota's fault. On the other side, it's your own fault, because you don't have the regulations. You don't have the regulations to force all these producers of cars, manufacturers of cars, to recall these cars, because according to your criteria, they do meet your criteria and they do meet your standard.
That's a fair complaint. I mean, it's 50-50. It goes both ways. And I think, and especially now that car sales in China have gone up so much, and so many people are now able to buy cars, whether they're Toyota or whatever. The brand is, in this case, doesn't matter. But more and more cars are being purchased, and the government bureaus that are supposed to supervise the transportation and car production and all of this should really start thinking about improving or expanding their policies and making them a little bit more, punchy, because, cars are now a big thing in China.
But if you come back to this recall system, in 2009, in China, we have over 76 million cars in China, and over 1.3 million were recalled. That accounts for 1.77% of the total number. That means less than 2 out of 100.
Yeah.
But in the United States, it's about 10%. True. So they have over 200 million cars in America in 2008. Over 20 million were recalled. So, I don't know whether we could put it this way. The number of cars being recalled by these manufacturers marks the maturity of this car industry in one country.
That is true in the States. To have such a percentage of cars recalled, I would not believe the cars made or used in the States is less quality, with less quality than cars used in China. That is obviously not the case. But anyhow, you do require the customers' awareness and knowledge to protect their own interests. The government agencies need to step in, change regulations.